Welcome back to the League of Inches podcast. Another special League of Inches interview with a panel member. So we've obviously started this one. Jake was first off the ranks, and a lot of good feedback, which was awesome. And we thought it would be a great way in the off season just to get through, do like one a week or so, get to know the boys a lot better, get to know what we are, and just personalize the experience with the podcast more. You can relate to people, see what their passions and stuff are, and a bit more about them, childhood stuff like that, and all the way to sports, everything. So next up is probably one of the fresher faces as well this year. I don't think he's the newest. I think Jake had that title wrapped up. I think Trav just before. I don't know. I might have got my dates wrong, but Trav is obviously one from this year. And Supercoach originally Gunn has come on and effectively become an all-rounder. He is everywhere, and I'm very thankful for that. He's helping me a lot the last couple of months, and really helped the beef up the final series as well. A lot of great feedback from what we were doing there. But Trav, welcome, brother. Good to have you on this podcast. Have a bit of a chat about yourself. You can literally be selfish now, and you can literally just talk yourself up as much as you want. You're allowed to, and awesome to have you on, and really keen to have this chat.
Yeah, appreciate the time. I appreciate the airtime, so that'll be nice. Yeah, it'll be good to talk something different and lives and stuff like that, and hope people get a bit of a gist of who I am. But yeah, and if I can relate to anybody, it'd be great to have a chat to you. And yeah, no, thanks for having me.
Matt, that's all right. I'm lucky enough. We've got to hang out a couple of times now but we're both up in Queensland, sort of southeast Queensland. So it's been good to catch up. Had a bit of a poker night, stuff like that. Catch up for a drink at the pub and that as well. So it's been awesome. And obviously doing poddys week to week with you, and just always a bit better in person, getting to know someone. So really great bloke, Trav is. Talk to us. Let's start with the podcast side of things. Obviously, we were sort of in one of I think it was the Finders Keepers, so just a Supercoach draft group, and both sort of established the fact that we were both uppy. The original plan was golf. Unfortunately for me, that plan had to change from injury purposes, but then got to chat a bit more, and then realised really cool in terms of how you sort of chat about the Supercoach side of the game, and found it was probably wanting this page to branch out more of the Supercoach side of things, to get you on, help with Jesse. We were obviously probably double booked Wednesday nights for a lot of the year, and I was having to do the live show a lot. You helped so much with the Supercoach side of things, but talk to us about that little period, how you've sort of found things, the podcasting world, and to peel the curtain back, you were very, very nervous at the start. You were very cautious about what to say, how to be, and how to fit in to paint the picture. Sort of me and Jesse had sort of just established sort of a connection, and then to have that third person come in can sometimes be very daunting for that third person, but you've come in seamlessly, in my opinion. And yeah, let us know how you found it.
Yeah, you're right. I started off being really nervous. I was pretty lucky that, in all honesty, mate, that you're a good fella. You sort of dragged me along and got me in. You posted out to say that you were keen to get someone in and grow the page a little bit, and you needed help. You couldn't keep doing this by yourself anymore. And I sort of thought, NRL isn't my number one sport. I'm not like you. But I can't really, basketball is my number one sport. I can pretty comfortably say that, but then I'm a man of all different sports. But when that came up, I've always wanted to get into it. I do listen. I bulk listen to podcasts. I literally do it every morning and every afternoon. I do it on the weekends and things like that. So I've always wanted to get into it, but I'm not the biggest self-starter, so I'm not one that just goes out on a limb and gets things done straight off my own bat. I need friends and I need people. I'm a social person. I'm a being. I need humans with me. So when you gave me that sort of green light, it was nice to get in it. And then, yeah, and as I said, it was nice to sit there for a good couple of months just to be involved in the group. I've been a long-time listener of League of Inches. So it was nice to, when it all came up, and then to get involved. Yeah, I was nervous as hell when we started. I think Like you have a go at me sometimes on the pages for having notes and all sorts of things, and because that's just what I do. It's just what I'm like. And oh, you should have seen the pages I had for that day, and I never showed you that. I had like 6 freaking pages. I was like full on, like, and I was sitting there. I actually asked you 2 days beforehand, what's the agenda, which I think you got pissed off with. But like, I just needed all that. Oh yeah, man, I was so nervous. I was packing myself. I had 2 bottles of water. I had like little snacks and shit just to keep my mouth chewing, so I wouldn't talk too much. Like, so it was nerve wracking. I love Supercoach, so it was nice to get involved. I was a little bit afraid, but as you rightly said, like, you guys were doing a really good job, and you needed to make sure that, there's high expectations, and you and Jesse have that and have held that for me, and that's caused me to sort of do what I do and how I go. And yeah, I love it. I've loved doing it. I don't look back. I'm appreciative of the time that you've given me, and a new hobby and something to look forward to. And yeah, I'll talk more about my life and who I am later on, but it certainly helps with that. And my life has definitely gotten better for being able to do these things. So I'm very appreciative to the platform of doing this stuff, and thank you. And yeah.
I'm very much appreciative of everything you have done. I've openly said that a number of times, especially the last few weeks when we've put the curtains down on like the Supercoach podcast and the like. But the notes and stuff, absolutely love how in detailed you are. And I think a lot of people out there appreciate the fact that you are like that. It shows that what you know what you're talking about, and it shows me that you take a lot of pride in your work, and this does mean something to you, and it's awesome to see, because it's easy for you like to come on as sort of new guy and just sort of not take the piss, but just sort of say a few things, just to be like 1 or 2 word answers type thing, be very nervous and that. But you've gone the opposite way. You've made sure you've worked hard, and I really appreciate the time and effort you do put into it. I've become a bit opposite. I don't know if it's because I've been doing it for so long. I can literally come up with an agenda 2-3 hours before we go on air, and I'm set. I'm good. But I know, and I appreciate this. That's like that yourself and a few of the other boys that are on here want that a bit more notice and know how to run things, get their notes and stuff done. So, as you said, I'm a footy nerd, so I can just note things in the head. It's the only thing I can remember is footy stuff. The rest of it, no idea. Birthdays and stuff, I'm out. But you mentioned it. Let's talk and let's start digging. Let's go. Try and rewind everything. Let's go back to near the start, and then let's work all the way up and have a chat about some things. But let everyone know who Trav is. Let everyone know Trav's sort of story as a child coming through. Almost let's get straight up to the point where you are now.
Oh, wait, I'm 38 years old, so I'm an old horse now. That's a loaded question. We could be here forever.
Mate, I'll stop you here and there. It's all good.
I've been pretty lucky in my life. My mum and dad have never had lots of money, but have always been looked after. I've been able to travel a lot. I've been able to get around a lot. I've lived in pretty much every state bar the ACT and Tassie. Well, actually, I have lived in every state bar those 2. One's a territory, one's a state.
Lucky
my
for
old
you.
man. Oh, yeah, to a degree, I suppose. My old man was in the Navy, so for a large chunk of my life, he was away 6 months of the year. I love him. He's a good fella. He's a hard nut. He's a Defence Force guy, but he was in the Navy, so we got ported around a lot. So born in Cairns, got ported around, moved around. Dad retired, has been pretty heavily tied in basketball. He's been a development coach and the state coach and all sorts of things for Australia, for different various state roles and things like that, director of coaching roles and stuff, leader of different major programs down in Melbourne and things. So, we moved around for him. My mum and dad are still married, happily married. I think it's on 40 odd years now. So they're going strong. So I'm pretty lucky that I've got all of those things. So yeah, I've had a really nice family base.
I'm going to ask I'll ask you about the parent side of things. So you mentioned your dad's a bit of a hard ass in a way, and sort of held that prestige sort of figure in businesses and the like, as you've probably known him, and throughout sporting clubs and the like. Does that mean your dad's sort of the hard ass and your mum is the softer approach? Is that the balance of the family?
Yeah, my mum's bloody hard though.
Yeah, both of us.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, like look, they're both awesome and they're loving. They're
Yeah,
caring. They're good people. But yeah, I'd say Dad's pretty hard. I think actually now that they've got into old age. They're both in their 60s. I think mum's the hard one and Dad's the softy. Like watching Gramps, as my daughters call him, is with the girls
yeah,
is yeah, melts the
special.
heart, mate. He loves them. He loves them. And mum's mum, she's not the granny is what my girls call them. She's not she's not the super, big and cut. She loves them. She gets involved. She plays the games and does the things. But yeah, my dad's a big softy now, but so it's probably turned a little bit. But yeah, no, I reckon they were both just as hard. My mum had to be though, man. Like you had me traveling all over the state to play AFL. That was one of the games that I played. A lot. Played basketball a lot. Mum had to do the travel. Mum was, a married single woman for half the year for a long time of my life. So she had to be. And then I've got a brother who's 18 months younger than me, who's two boys. That's only that age. You sit there bashing each other and doing all the things that boys do. And then a sister came along 6 years later, and so. I'm blessed. I've been blessed. I've always had what I wanted. Never had lots of money, but always got what I wanted. Always had nice places. Always lived in nice things. Always went on holidays. But we did it the way our life was supposed, like the way it was enabled to us. And yeah, mum and dad were probably just as hard as they needed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to ask, I want to prick you a little bit here because I want to go back to the notes for a second. And I want to know if that's something that has been with you for some time. Is that something that's been drilled into? Is that something that you've naturally picked up? You're one of those people that you want to know sort of what's going on. You want to make sure you're across things. You don't want to be made to look a fool in a way. Like what's the sort of story behind that and how long has it been like that?
It certainly wasn't throughout my schooling life.
Yeah.
I was the prime. My mum and dad hated going to parent teacher interviews because it was has all the talent but just doesn't give a shit.
Sounds like
just
me.
yeah, just doesn't put the effort in. Never did the homework. I never did. Never put any extra in. I just did what I had to do. And it was the same with sports. And until I got to 16, 17, when I started to be okay at footy, AFL and stuff, I went through to be honest, I went through a childhood of, my dad's a pretty big coach. I'll live off the back of that. I was just a stupid kid that made those bad choices. And then I didn't make my under 16 and 18 team for basketball because of it. So, that's how I ended up getting into coaching. But so it wasn't certainly as a kid. It was learnt. I had to learn that behavior. My mum and dad are prepared and organized, but not like I am now. I think a lot of it comes down to, that prime saying of piss poor preparation. So it's probably a bit of self-preservation too. I don't want to fail. I don't like failing. I don't like doing things wrong. I don't like looking a fool. I can have different opinions and I'm fine with that. And people can have different opinions, but my opinion will be educated. I will have an educated opinion. I don't. And that's how I work. And that's what I'm like. I do the same thing and I have to, being an educator. So being a teacher and then working myself into being a principal, deputy principal and various sort of leadership roles in schools. Like you've got to be, and I have to be. And I mean, I expect and demand of people and the staff under me to be prepared and organized because that's what we have to do. And our core business is to be teachers and we teach the future. And if we're not prepared, then, every single minute that someone's in front of a kid in a classroom is exceptionally important. And I breathe that and live that and teach, have those expectations. And if I have those expectations, I've got to bloody well have it myself. So that's just what I'm like. I think probably the biggest thing is I don't want to fail. I don't like failing. I don't like getting things wrong, and I will get them wrong. That's the benefit for me is that I get shitloads of things wrong, but I'm okay with that. There are other people that don't like to get things wrong, and it's a problem there. And I suppose one of my downfalls is if I commit to something, I go over the top. So, and I said that to you when when we first started, is that like, if I'm going to commit, I'm all in, like, this is what I do, this is how I do things. So yeah, it's been something I've had to learn. To answer in a long-winded way, I've had to learn this, and it's ingrained in me now. And yeah, it's just me.
I'm going to peel the curtain back a little bit. I hope you don't mind me doing this, but sort of what sticks out to me about you and how you're mentioning the failure side of things, and it's, to me, it feels like it's probably your biggest fear in life is failure, in a way. And obviously there's other things like family and stuff, and we don't want to mention that sort of thing, but failure is right up there for yourself. And what I really like about you is, especially very early on, and to be honest, you still do it. There's times where you'll message me or you'll give me a buzz. You'll be like, "Oh, bro, do you have time for a bit of a chat?" And I'm just thinking, "Oh, here we go. He doesn't want to do the potty anymore or something." And oh, goodness me, what's going to happen? And you literally just say, "Oh, how was I last night?" Or you check up on your performance, you check up on what you said. And I'm sitting back thinking, mate, we're not like a professional podcast here. We're doing it, having a bit of a laugh. We're all mates, talking footy, but the respect that you have for that side of it, and you're always double checking. I really respect that about you, because there's not a lot of people out there that would do that. Like me personally, I don't know. I listen back and stuff, obviously, because it's my baby in a way. Like I have that connection to it. But for you to do it as well, and I'm guessing this isn't the only place you do that for. I'm guessing you're checking a lot about you and that failure tag.
Yeah, I've had some moments of that I can literally go back to, and go, I think that's a defining factor of my life. Times
Yeah.
of where, 14-year-old, really passionate basketball player, was pretty good. There were better dudes, but I was pretty good. And and had this stupid belief of, my dad's who my dad is, and so I didn't make an under 16s basketball team. And that was a big defining moment that's sort of led to me to be the work ethic that I've got. There's other moments of, at one moment in my life, I was in a pretty happy role, and I was in a good role, and I got sacked. And that was another defining moment of failure to me. And I look at these things as failures. I don't look at these things as, blips in the system or whatever, like I've failed. You touch on an interesting point. And like every podcast I think I message you, or I do something for everything. And I've actually forced my wife to listen to some of them too, because I'm always seeking that feedback. I'm seeking, and I'm not seeking clarification of whether I've done something good. I'm actually sillily seeking negative. What did I do wrong? Because I'm not going to do that again. And that's sort of how I learn, what have I done wrong? Because I sure as hell won't make sure I do. I'll make sure I won't do it again. So that's kind of what I'm seeking. I'm not seeking clarification for doing things right, or I don't want someone to pump my tires up. I've always been like that as a football player. I've pissed many of my coaches off. The next day messaging them saying, "How'd I go? Give me some feedback." And then they go, "No, you played well." I was like, "No, what did I do wrong?" And I would say that. I've done the same thing in coaching, because I've coached at a pretty high level in basketball. And as I'm watching the tapes, I'm not watching the tapes of whether dudes do things right. I'm watching the tape of where they've done things wrong, and then going, "Okay, well, that's on me. What did I do wrong to teach them to do that?" And that's how I've sort of lived my life. It's tough. It can be tough at times to constantly think of the negatives like that. And I do have to have really good emotional intelligence and things that I've had to learn. These are not skills that you just have. You learn them to be able to manage those things. But that's sort of where that has always come. That's why I always seek feedback. I think feedback is, invaluable. And I think we all, as a society, have disappeared away from wanting to gather feedback, and we've become precious. And I find that a lot. And unfortunately, kids in nowadays don't like the negative feedback. And I think we coddle our kids and our people too much. And I think we coddle our students too much, and we scaffold things too much for them. And because we're so concerned about failure, or we're so concerned about negativity and that. And yeah, I just think feedback is such an important and valuable tool to living life, to improve everything. And feedback can come in many different ways, shapes, and forms. And I've learned that over my life, to accept that and seek it.
You mentioned obviously your father spent a bit of your sporting career as your coach at the time, and for a rep side of things and things like that. We've obviously on a NRL side of things, and we're witnessing at the moment probably the greatest father son combination to do its thing at the NRL level in the Clearys, Ivan and Nathan. It's been sensational. But how did you find having your dad as your coach? You got to that age there where you probably wanted to take basketball a bit more seriously, and did you find he was harsher on you? Did you find you wanted to push him more? Like, what was that relationship like?
I think it was way harsher on me.
Yeah, yeah,
It's an interesting point. It's an interesting, like, I haven't probably looked back too much on that, on those things. I think there were moments where he was way harsher on me, but I don't think that's defined me or anything. And it was only for 2 years that he's actually sort of coached me. But the year after that he was that coach, it was the team that I never made. So, and from there, and I never did it again. Like I pulled out of it. So that's probably a defining moment for me. But yeah, he definitely was pretty hard.
I've got to know. The school rascal turns into a school teacher. Tell us about this period. What's happened from school, and you're getting told you could be all it, but you're just not there. You mentally you're zoned. You're at school physically, but your mind's elsewhere. You're probably in sport, and all of a sudden you've become a teacher to now where you are each day, which is obviously the principal for a school. But talk to us about the journey, because I can't wrap my head around it.
Oh, bro, school was all about footy, basketball, skating, because I was a massive skater. No good. All my mates were really frigging good. I was the dude that I was the encourager. I was the videographer. I could do little bits and pieces, but that was my 3 things. We got to year 12 and then we discovered alcohol and girls. And it took us that long, because all we could care about as the boys was that we were all good footballers. So we had a really good team. We played grand finals and all sorts of stuff in our leagues down in Victoria and things. So we were good footballers. They were all good skaters, and we were all just good dudes. So we used to just love hanging around and doing stuff. So school was like, we couldn't care less. So I didn't. Just luckily that I've got some natural smartness, and I can take that off my parents, that I didn't have to, work super hard to do. However, I got it around year 11 and 12 was where I started to really think about obviously where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. I always wanted to be a pilot, man. I always wanted to be a pilot. And I just was too afraid to get away from mum. I was a bit of a mama's boy, and I'd happily admit that as a kid. So, and that's natural when mum's around so much, and mum's the one taking us to all over the state for sport, and on a Friday night, and then all over the place on weekends for trainings, and, having to manage 2 sports a year and over the year. It's, I just didn't want to get away from mum. So I actually got accepted into an offer to go to ADFA to explore that, and declined. And then my mum and dad then sort of went, well, I want you to get into business. I want you to do a business degree. That's I think that's where they're going to go. And they've pushed me into that. And at year 12, I met a teacher, and I won't say his name, but in year 12, I met a teacher, and he made a real impact on me, where he was just so fun. It's one of those, cliche sort of stories, right? That, you just got to have that one teacher that changes your life. For me, I had one teacher that changed that life for me. And, a lot of the professional sports people, especially Americans, right, that have come through, the times that they've had, they just had that one role model, and most of them were teachers that changed what they did, that kept them in line and did that. I didn't have to be kept in line because I wasn't a feral, but I just needed to have someone direct me and do that. And I had this one teacher who did that. And he instilled a few really important things that I really cherished. And, one thing that I really liked of that was that, he was a fun, go-lucky, caring, respectful, personable dude. And I went, I want to do that. and that rubbed off on me. And that's where I wanted to be a teacher. However, my mum and dad said, don't be a teacher. You don't get paid enough. You get treated like crap. You got to work too hard, and the holidays aren't worth it. So don't be a teacher. So I didn't do it because I listened to the perspective of them. So I went into going to do a business degree. And so I've got a business degree. I've got a major in HR, and I've got a major in international business. And I worked for that for a total of 18 months. So I did that. And throughout that time, I sat there and, I got, even through uni, I sat there thinking, I don't really want to do this. I'm doing this because mum and dad do it. And I constantly thought that. And whilst I was uni, that was where I really, established partying and footy and stuff like that. And I think a large chunk of that was also because I really just didn't like what I was doing. I really hated it. And so I found alternate ways to keep me occupied. And again, I've just thanked the lucky stars that I'm, got some reasonable brain in my head that I'm able to just do bare minimum and pass. And that's all I did. I bare minimum and pass. And it wasn't until I started working in a few sort of various jobs and things like that I actually really struggled to get out of bed. And I didn't want to get out of bed. I was getting, in one of my roles, I got a lap. So I was 20 years old. They gave me a laptop, a car, and 50 grand. That's a lot of money back then, and a car, and you're giving this to a 20-year-old. And so I'm sitting there going, yeah, you beauty, this is great. I'm out of school, I'm getting this, but I freaking hated what I was doing. I hated it. And in the end, I bit the bullet and I went back and did my teaching degree, and I've never looked back. I've never been happier in terms of what I do. And, I constantly try to teach people to find that passion of what you want and follow it and do it. And I wish I had done that right from the get-go. Instead, I was 25 grand in debt for a business degree that I did for 18 months. But look, I wouldn't take anything back. I've met lots of really good mates. I partied a lot. I discovered a lot of things about myself and other people that I would never have had those opportunities to do. And I learned a lot of valuable lessons. And the other reason I wouldn't take it back is because it pushed me into a field that really that I know every single day I'm in the right spot.
I want to sort of
Members
unpack.
only.
Yeah, pretty much. I want to unpack the sort of the teacher side of things, and obviously not really talking about where you're teaching, but obviously I believe you've taught at different states. So how is that sort of adapting? Is there much to adapt with? Is it just the same sort of conduct or whatever you have to use? And the traveling interstates, how that sort of impacted teaching as well?
So I did my teaching degree in Victoria. Was very happy, man, to get my first. I had a few interviews out of my teaching degree, but didn't get a job when I first started. Became a relief teacher, which was pretty good, which gave me a good experience to get into multiple different places. And I was pretty lucky that I was okay at footy too. So I ended up getting into a school where the principal was actually the coach of the local footy team, and he knew and that I played somehow. And so he dragged me out to the club and then gave me a short-term contract. And then I ended up finishing off that was playing footy, which he then turned into, I've got this lady up the road at another school just up the road that needs some relief teaching. So go and do that. And then they were all at a meeting one day, and I was actually at one of the schools, and a random school in Ararat, which in the grand scheme of things is a very long way from where I was in these other schools. And she goes, I need a teacher. And this principal turned around and said, actually, I've got an idea. I've got this dude who keeps coming. He's good. And then the other principal then said, yeah, actually, he's at my school today. And so he rang me, the principal of the first school rang me and said, yeah, you're going to get a phone call. And I said, I'm actually a relief teacher today. He goes, oh, hang on a second. And then the principal that I was at rang me and said, yeah, actually take that phone call. It's okay. I'll organize someone to come to the class. So someone came to the class. I took the phone call, had an interview. 3 days later, I had my first job. It's a wonderful school that I very proudly can say that I own, is called Ararat. Ararat 360 is the school. It's an amazing school. And I was very blessed that I had a really really hard but wonderful principal in Jennifer when I first started, and an amazing assistant principal in Adrian that really took me under their wings. And and I had a really, really nice time there, and they're a wonderful community, beautiful place. And then from there, I got into leadership roles and got my first principal gig, and then just some things ended up happening. So we had some pretty tragic things that happened in our life, and we always wanted to be up in Victoria. So we came up to Victoria. We always wanted to be up in Queensland. We traveled here twice a year a lot and wanted to be here. And some tragic sort of things happened to me and my wife, and we ended up going, life's too bloody short. So we just packed up and came up. The differences. Now, the question was, what's it like? So it's not one system. It's really not. You'd think that education here, we've all got Australian curriculum, but we don't. Victoria has a Victorian curriculum, does things differently, marks things differently. Queensland has a very different thing. It's taken a long time. I'm still learning it. I walked away from Victoria going, I know the ins and outs of it, but I come up here and I'm still learning even today. I had a meeting today and I just went, holy crap, I haven't even heard of that. And I should. So it is very, very different. The systems are different. The beliefs are different. And I think that's a problem. And I think as a country, I think schools should have more power and ownership around how they implement that, depending on their kids and their teachers, because we're all different. But I think our curriculum should be similar. I think we should all be teaching the same things at the same times, doing the same sorts of things. And then depending on your context, if you're in a First Nations community, you should be putting the First Nations perspective over things and teaching different ways of the same content, but doing it differently. I think if you're in a religious school, you should be adding those things, which has that. But I think that's a problem in our education system, which is a whole big conversation that we can have. But I love it in Queensland. I won't look back. I have no intent of going back to Victoria. You can thank COVID for ruining that. But we moved up here in 22 and loving it and can't look back. And I love what we do. And there's so much to do up here that I think I can add value to.
There's a couple of questions I want to ask you about the move and stuff like that. Now, I don't want to probe into reasons why and stuff, as you've mentioned. There's some private stuff that I'm sure you wish to remain private. There's certainly stuff that you don't want to probably mention in public. But do you remember any sort of crucial moment where you decided, you and your wife, like a pinpointed conversation where you went, let's do it. Let's go. Like, Queensland, we've been talking about it. It's our holiday destination. We love it. And I had a similar story. I would come up to Queensland and Gold Coast as sort of my holiday place. And I just went, I've got to go. I love it there. I've got to go up there. Do you remember a moment like that?
Yeah. So the fantastic holidays that we've had up here really have made the moment of we love it. And you're chasing the sun, and it's been hard to get used to as a Victorian. The sun is hot, and so the electricity bill doesn't go. Isn't very nice, but we just love it up here, and we like the people. We like the fact that we can actually do so much more. Like on a daily basis, we're literally doing things, and even when it rains, like you still can do things, whereas down in Victoria it's so cold, it's so wet all the time, and then when it's summer and it's hot, it's freaking hot. It's hotter than here. It just doesn't make sense. Look, I'll take a step back. I'm okay with this. So my wife and I had some tragedy, and I think that's something that we need to talk about more, and our society doesn't talk about these sorts of things very often, and it's still a bit of a taboo topic, and it needs to be fixed. And so at the start of 2021, we planned, me and my wife. So I have one daughter, I have two daughters, but at that time I had one, my little girl, Addie. She's now 6. She's a freaking superstar and I love her. And I've got a wife. We're now married as of this year, 6 years. 2018 was our wedding. When we got married. But at the start of 2021, she got pregnant. I still remember this 12-week scan. We went in there and she was doing the scan and stuff, and she couldn't get the picture and and she was like, oh, because it kept moving. She's like, oh, it's a Wrigley baby. And I'm like, yeah, that's, it's already a footballer. It's a boy, it's a footballer. I was making that joke. And then literally 30 seconds later, she goes, oh, I just got to go check something. And I looked at my wife and I thought, that's a bit odd. Like, this didn't happen the last one. Anyway, she came back with the bloody head honcho trying to confirm stuff. And then they were looking at it and you could see, and then they walked out again. And by this point, me and my wife were sitting there going, holy crap, what's going on? And they came back and said, well, actually, unfortunately, this baby that you've got's got anencephaly. So I don't know if you've ever heard of that. So anencephaly is a disease of the baby where the skull doesn't grow, and essentially they will either die whilst as they grow in labor, or they'll die, hours to a couple of days after birth. So we had to do, my wife at the time, bless her, chose to do an immediate removal, which we sort of had to do. And I support that fully. I'm not the one that's pregnant. I don't make, so I support that fully. And it makes sense. And I'm actually glad she did that. But from there was a whole heap of unfortunate medical things that happened to her, and some issues and stuff like that. And so the loss of the baby, and I think people need to, it's not taboo. It's not a topic that should be taboo. It should be something that we all talk about. We need to support people. This is life. This happens, unfortunately, and we can't control these things. These are things out of our control, and we have to make tough decisions at times, and it's okay. And people should be able to talk about that. And that's unfortunately something that we didn't have. We didn't have that. The two of us had to do this by ourselves, and we dealt with that by ourselves, and it's made us two very strong. But yeah, I think society has a problem with that, and we need to fix that. And so I'm quite happy to talk about that. And I'll put it out to anybody that listens to this, that if you do end up with these, I'm more than happy to come through, slide into my DMs and come and have a chat, because I'm more than happy to give you a male perspective, because and what's going to happen to your partner as this goes through. So more than happy to do that. It's tough. It sucks. And we ended up sitting there with that, and then the future roll-on effects of some extra bits that happened. My wife ended up developing a problem called AVM, which essentially meant that through the removal of the baby, what actually happened was so women have uterus, they have a major vein above that. Unfortunately, what happened was by accident or whatever, it was, however it happened, and it caused, what it does is it's like a hose. So you know how you kink a hose, and then it, it's like the cartoons, right? They kink the hose and the hose just keeps blowing up, and it's a big until it explodes. Well, that's what her vein did. It just kept growing, and then exploded, and she bled out, enormous bleeding. And so major hospital time. And unfortunately, we were going through this hospital time where it was still all these huge COVID protocols in the state of Victoria. And so I couldn't go. So I was at home with our baby, with our other daughter, my wife in hospital, having major issues where she was, dying at times and all sorts of things. And so it was a really big thing. And like, I'm happy to support people through that. But what that did was that turned to us, and the two of us just went, life's too freaking short, man. Like, it's too short. Like, we've realized that tragedy has caused us to go, yeah, let's make some changes. Let's do this. We want to be here, but our 10-year plan is now going to be a now plan. And that we ended up here. And I was lucky enough to get a deputy role at a local school. And from there, we got our house, and we're in our dream sort of house that we live in now, and floating around doing what we do. Yeah. So look, I'm sorry to talk, like, that was a bit depressing and things, but I will just end a bit of that, and you probably say, but if anyone really does, like, we can never, ever profess to be experts. I'm never going to do that. I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do. I'm not going to support you in that way, but I can certainly be an ear to listen to and say what I did and how I did things and how my wife did things. And we're all still learning. We learn every day from those things, but please, and anyone, if you ever need to come, because there's been some Tragic things. We've learnt a lot about our mental well-being and how to stabilize those things and talk to people about how to do stuff. And I'm always willing to talk to anyone that needs it.
You basically took the words out of my mouth, and obviously here as on the podcast, and I've said it a number of times already so far. But for those listening again, as you said, we're not experts in any of these sorts of fields, but what we are experts in, I guess, is being mates and offering that blokes advice, sort of in a way, and being there for blokes and talking whatever. Like, we're always here to talk about footy, have a laugh, but at the end of the day, we're also there to talk to guys if they need some help, if they want some advice, and just want to have an ear. Like, we're happy to be there as the page. And as I said, both me and you are Southeast Queensland based. So anywhere from the Gold Coast up to sort of Brisbane based, if you want to organise, whether it's via DMs, if that's where you're comfortable, if it's a phone call, if it's you want to catch up with a few of us or whatever, like, always happy to put the hand out there, grab it, and whatever you guys want, let us know. And always going to support that. So don't be a stranger with that sort of stuff. We've all gone through our own sort of shit in life. Life is tough. It very much is. And this time more than ever, don't be too proud to try and tackle things on your own, and make sure you do reach out, please. We're always open to DMs. I know there's people out there in pages that are obviously busy in that. It's very hard to get access to talk to them, but ours are always open. I reply to pretty much everything that I humanly can, and I don't think there's a DM that goes by that I don't respond to. So please reach out if you need. Trav, I don't want to harp on it too much, rightly so, but I want to ask one more question, because look, what your wife has gone through, and we've already had this chat about this at the pub, sitting there and getting to know each other a bit more, which was awesome. But I can't fathom what your wife and your partner has gone through. At the moment, I'm interviewing you. I want to ask you one more question, because you've mentioned a whole heap of things there that even I'm hearing it for the second time, and it still takes my breath away. It gets you emotional. It does tug the heartstrings, because you just don't want to go through anything like that as on your own. But I want to know how you were in that period, because that was a hell of a lot of shit that was happening there, and over a period of time, which probably, let's say it's 2-3 year period, but it probably would have felt like 2 to 3 months. It just would have felt very, very quickly, because it was one thing after the other. We're advocates about like the mental health side of things, and being good and talking. You had a lot on your shoulders, brother. How are you looking back at that period, and how that sort of shaped you now moving forward into the man that you are? Because you're honestly a top bloke. So
there are people out there that would very much disagree, but that's like it was tough. Like there was a point in time in my life where I thought about driving a car into a tree, and that would have been better. Like, that was a thought. Like, I had those, there were, depression can be a killer, and it can be, obviously that's a silly saying, but that's depression can do that to people, and that's what can happen. And unfortunately, the tragedy of that, it was that the toughest thing for me with those thoughts and what happened was that I had a wife going through, and there was a lot that I can do. I like to have things in control, and I think you sort of get the gist of that with my planning and stuff. Like, whilst it's not my agenda and all that sort of stuff, what I can control is what I'll say and how I'm planned and how I'll do things. I'd like to be in control, and I couldn't control things. I couldn't control my wife. I couldn't control a surgeon that was going to help her, or what was going to happen. I couldn't control all those bits and pieces, and that broke my heart. There was a very large blame that I took on myself for the medical things that happened to my wife, because it was me that, got her pregnant. So, like, I sat there and I took a really big, deep chat. Now, this is not stuff that I haven't said to people, so this is not breaking news, but some people that will listen to this will sit there and go, yeah, this is what Travis has said. I had a moment one day where I was going to do that with my car, and that was the bit of it. And before I'd done that, there was a few things that sort of flashed over me about I had my daughter at the time, and my wife was in hospital, and I went, no, I can't do it. And instantly what I did was I stopped and I ran. And so I went and got myself help. So the help was there. So, and you can't offer help and you can't give help unless you're helping yourself. you've got to be able to protect yourself and look after yourself. And so I'm an advocate of and a believer of look after yourself first. You are the number one, right? So, and the analogy of being on the plane, you've got your kids beside you and your wife beside you, and something goes wrong and they bring the gas mask down. Well, who do they tell you to put yours on first? They tell you to do yours first. You can't do anything if you don't have yours on first. You've got to do that. And that's what psychologist has taught me, and some counseling and stuff like that, is you got to look after yourself. So through that, I've learned to be much more emotionally intelligent. I've learned to cope with those bits and pieces. I've learned to support people. I've learned to support my wife. And so I had a really tough period, to be honest, and to answer that question for you. And I had to seek that help. I take being a father a privilege. It's not a right. I don't have a right to that. My kids and my wife, I don't have a right to being a husband. Being a husband to my wife is a privilege. My wife is a freaking gem. I'm very lucky. I'm certainly, I always joke that there's always a settler and a batter and a reacher in a relationship. And I have to tell her, just sort of like, as a laugh, that I'm the one settling and she's the one reaching. But reaching because I'm so awesome, and settling to her. But and I always have that joke with her, but that's very far the wrong way. I'm definitely batting above my average with what I've got with my wife, and she's been able to help. And so, so it was, the admiration of watching what women do. Women are amazing, men. Like how they go about things and stuff like that, and I had to have that shaken out of me and have that realized about how awesome my wife is and how awesome women are and what they get to do, and how the appreciation for that. And so that's how I was, and that's how I managed to get myself through things, with that help and that support. And I had to draw upon that. I had to, essentially man up. You needed to man up. That's probably a poor term, but you man up and admit, it's now manly to admit to these things. It's now manly to seek this advice. It's now manly to cry. It's now manly to hug people. It's, now manly to, seek a hand for help.
That's what I was about to correct you there. I don't think it's the bad term at all. I think it's the correct term to use, man up, because it means all that sort of stuff. And huge credit to you for opening up like that. I know a lot of our listeners and everyone who will listen to this will definitely appreciate that. Drop some comments, obviously, on the YouTube video, and DMs and comments and stuff as well to Trav and stuff, and show your appreciation. But I think it's great the more people that talk about that sort of stuff, and the more people that are open with it, because it's obviously a huge demon in society, and it does need to be spoken about a hell of a lot more than it already is. We're getting a lot better at it as a society again, but it's still room to grow. And I'm very proud to call you a mate, and proud to see you here still, and proud to see you making the necessary steps forward to get to the better part who you are now. And that leads us to the family man, and that leads us to the pride and joy, and that leads us to where you are this day and age as the Trav that we know, that the Trav that we love and stuff. But talk to us about the family man, Trav, and talk to us about from the little tackers up to now, their ages and what they put you through. Talk to us about what Father Trav's like and how much you love it.
I love being a dad, man. And I particularly love now where I've got a daughter that's into sports. She's just got to 6. So this is the best. I've got the best time now. Like she's just started little athletics. We've got all that sort of stuff. So I love it. I love being able to do that. Take her to dance and watch her get dressed in a little dance outfit and do all those sorts of things. Yeah, it's great. I've got a 6-year-old daughter now, and she's in prep, and I've got a 2-year-old daughter who does a bit of daycare and stays home with mum a couple of days a week, and goes and does a night with Nana, a day with Nana. And I've got a wife. The family man, it's tough. It's hard. I'm at a house full of girls, so it's a whole different life. I'm a girl dad, as Kobe Bryant once said, who's actually an idol of mine. So like I cherish every moment. It certainly makes you, with all the things that have happened to us, but with what we've got. We wouldn't be where we are without those things too. So you look back and learn from them and take them as for what they are. Whilst I'm not a believer of things happen for a reason, and I don't know why I don't believe that, but yeah, I don't really tend to believe in that. But there is an end goal for things, and there are decisions made that are out of my control. And yeah, I love it. I love, the terrible twos is real. It's real. When she don't get what she wants, she just cries. And yeah, like I wouldn't be the dad that I am though if I didn't have my wife. My wife is a freaking gem. She just does everything and doesn't complain about it. There are days where she says she's tired, and I sit there and go, "Oh, you always say you're tired," but really in the head, it's I'm just admitting that I'm useless, and she's without her.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love it. But yeah, it can be tough. It's hard, but every bit's a moment. Like I was watching, my daughter had her first AFS carnival on the weekend, and they were doing a photo, and there was 500 athletes, and obviously pretty much every one of them had their parents there, you'd assume, or at least one parent. So there's over 1,000 people there, I'd say. And I was at one moment, my daughter was in a race ready to run, and I was sitting there on the grass with my wife and my 2-year-old, and my 2-year-old come and stole my hat, and we were just playing on the grass, and this person took a candid photo of the three of us. Had no idea that they were taking it. I saw it yesterday and I went, God, my life's good. Like my kids are awesome. And it's fun to, like, I looked at that and just thought they're so much fun. They're hard, but they're so much fun. Yeah, it's good.
Talk to us, girl dad. You said it can get a bit hard
Yep.
at times. What's the tough stuff? Obviously, like you being, you're growing up and stuff, and having your dad there. Like we are always so thankful for what we've got. I think there would have been a party that would have probably really enjoyed that side of, like, maybe a son side of things, and that, like, having that upbringing. But being the girl dad now, it's completely different, I guess, way of going about things. You're lucky, as you said, the 6-year-old now getting into sports, which is awesome, which is, I reckon, every dad's dream deep inside. They want a tomboy as such, or a girl that loves her sport. And we're lucky this day and age where female sport is just taking off. So it's a great time to be part of things. So talk about those little challenges. There could be some girl dads listening who want to relate to you and are probably hoping to relate to some stories.
Oh, like, why is it so hard being a girl dad? Because now you've got 3 women sooking in your house all the time, and you're trying to deal with all of those emotions that I just can't get through my head. And that doesn't, like, just get over it. So you're just dealing with those sorts of things all the time. The anger that can have, and the way that they want to argue. They certainly have the wool over their dad's eyes for sure. So yeah, it's tough because of that. Like, you're right. The cliche thing is, I wanted a boy because I wanted someone who was going to I could drag to basketball, and I'll drag to football and do all that sort of stuff. And it was, the very first day that my second daughter came along, I actually went to myself and said, well, hang on a second, why the hell can't she do those things? So she still can. So, like, I still can have my daughters do all those sports things and do all that sort of stuff. And I'm a massive advocate for female sport, because I'm selfishly, being a girl dad, that's, I want that, and I need that pathway for my girls to seek. And I think we've got so many awesome women role models out there for them that I love. And, off this podcast that we did just before, for the weekly review, unfortunately, I actually think that we're in a better world with women's sport with role models. And I think there's a lot of men and males that are not. And so for me, I think I feel pretty lucky that there are some people doing some really stupid things, because I can filter that away, because there's some women out there doing some pretty wonderful stuff. So yeah, I'm blessed at the moment as a dad with girls that, I can see a really nice future and a really nice path for them. So yeah, I'm very keen for that. The only thing I wish my girls did more of was watch my Dragon Ball Z love and watch and play and want to play video games with me a little bit more. I wish that's where I got, but I can't get them to that yet. Mario Kart is as far as I've got my 6-year-old to get to, and that's a challenge in itself.
Mate, you almost, it was as if you see my next question, because I was about to ask you what are your hobbies away from the teaching side of things, the work side. We obviously know about family and stuff. What are some of Trav's hobbies?
Doing nothing is a hobby.
Yeah.
I'm so bloody busy, I'm going to work. I'm up and about early. I've got a fair travel to get to and from work. And then, you've got, you've got to be a good husband, you got to be a good dad, and you got to do those sorts of things. So, doing nothing is a hobby. So, it's literally just sitting on my phone on the couch can be, or just 10 minutes. And as much as you say screen time is not a good thing, it is sometimes for me, because it's an ability for me to switch my brain off and be dumb for a little while. So that's one. I love movies, but having kids has kind of wrecked that. So the odd part that I don't get to do, but I will watch. Last night I sat there with my wife and watched Field of Dreams again. God, that's a good movie. So that was good. I am a really big basketball person, so I love basketball. So I love just sitting down and watching the NBA, particularly like college basketball, so the NCAA American stuff. So I like that. I like getting out and riding the bike with the kids. My hobbies are my girls too. So yeah, those sorts of things. But then on a separate, more personal note, I'm a bit of a nerd. So I'm a funny sort of fella. Like I feel like I'm, I love sport and I like beer and that sort of stuff, but I've got a really funny chunk of me about being a bit of a nerd, and so I've got a big collection of Pokemon cards. I've got I do like watching Pokemon with my daughter. It's a really nice thing I like doing on Saturday, Sunday mornings. I collect pop vinyls, a lot of basketball ones, but I've got a lot of Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z stuff. Dragon Ball Z is another thing that I like to collect. So I've got a bit of a collection of stuff that's quite nice that I like doing. So there's a bit of a nerdy side of me to that too. Yeah, when you become a dad, you sort of don't get to those, hobbies become very different. I love to play golf, but don't get to go out. I don't have a partner. The one dude I was trying to play with pretended he did his back, but so I can't go down that track. So I've got to find someone else.
Oh, honestly, I'm getting to the stage where I'm going to just force myself to go and never go. And if it goes, it goes. Like I'm just. I actually said it to the wife. Was it yesterday or the day before? Not the wife, the missus, but she wishes she had that tag at the moment. But I said to her, I'm getting to the point where I just need to do something. I haven't played sport now for like a year. I need to get out and just try something. So she even basically said, go out and just see what happens. So I think we might be up for a little game soon and just see what happens and go through with that. So I'm very keen to do that. But I guess finally is just you can act. It's Trav, so you're a Melbourne Storm fan. We are a couple of weeks past the grand final, obviously defeat to the Penrith Panthers juggernaut. Just your little summary of the Storm season and just that final game, getting so close, being the standout team of the regular season, and then just falling short to probably the team of at least the NRL era, if not the best team we've ever seen.
I'm still hurt.
Yeah.
It still hurts. I'm still gutted. It's annoying. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated that Penrith are so bloody good. I actually thought, I'm a really big advocate for, or not advocate's not the right way, but I really wish that the best team won the championship or the title or the premiership or whatever you want to say. I really wish the best team that did it across the year for the whole year won the premiership. I really wish that was the case. And I actually think that we were the best team for, at times we weren't the best team, but if you take on board the whole as a picture, what we had to do and how we did coaching wise, and then and had to deal with injuries wise and as a team and Origin and all sorts of things. I think as a whole picture, I think the Storm were the best team this year for the whole year. We just didn't turn up on a grand final time. Well, weren't allowed to be. Penrith were, they're that good. We just weren't allowed to. So yeah, I think what it does is it creates a more admiration and a more understanding of just how freaking good Penrith are and what they've been able to do and how good Cleary is. And Cleary will make an argument, if he's not already, that he's going to be down as one of, if not the best player to ever play the game. And the dude's still only 23, 24 or whatever. So
insane.
And at times, I have had moments over the last couple of weeks where I've just gone, and it sucks, but we just lost to a juggernaut. We just lost to an amazing coach and an amazing player and an amazing team, and we've got to appreciate that. And that was a privilege to get there and be able to have that. So yeah, that's probably my take on it. It still hurts. I still think we were the best team all year. We just didn't get it done when it counted at the end. And so at the end of the day, people don't remember that. They remember who won. So, which was Penrith, and all to them, 4 bloody premierships in a row. It's wicked. 4 in a row, and the 5th one they lost. So 5 years ago. So yeah, that's just, what they've done is just absolute insane.
If you ain't first, you're last, basically. So that is,
you like to say that. You like to say that.
Yeah. Well, I like to just say the Storm will last then. So that's all good. A couple of quick rapid fire questions to finish this. Some of your go to sort of get to know someone questions. What's your favorite movie?
Remember the Titans?
Oh, kid me. That's mine as well. That's brother, beautiful. Absolutely left side.
Strong side. Love that. There's so many things about that movie that just like, I still cry at times. It doesn't matter how many times I've watched it. I still cry. I still laugh. I still get sad. It's just so many emotions, but then there's so many messages and things within that I love, and there's so much hatred that I have for that period of time around racism and what was happening and how that went and what that movie proves, is just, it's phenomenal. Love that movie. There are others. Coach Carter's as another one, as a basketball movie that I really like. And my third favorite, just to give you 3, because I need to give you 3, is The Last Samurai.
Oh, great choices. What about TV show or series or whatever it is these days?
Like my favorite?
Yeah,
my favorite TV show. That's interesting. My favorite TV show that I've liked recently, that I've watched since being married, is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. God, I love that show. It's hilarious. It's such a good show. My go-to when I've got any chance to do anything is Dragon Ball Z, as lame as that is. I love Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Super as it is now. But big anime fan there with the Dragon Ball. And currently my wife and I are watching My Wife and Kids. If you remember that show from the early 2000s with Wayne's.
Yeah,
far out. That show's funny.
That's a great show. That was a great show.
So
I forget how many seasons that was. What, 2 or 3 seasons or something?
No, well, I think it's more than 4 because I'm in season 4 now. So maybe it's 5.
No,
but I'm in season 4.
Brilliant. Now. I might do the same actually. Where can people find that, by the way? Because that pricks the memory straight away.
We're watching it on Disney Plus.
Oh, I might have to get the bank card out and do a little subscription for a month and just get smashed through it. What about favorite music? So we can go the artist and a song as well.
Oh, you want a song? So genre of music that I've been my go-to and that I've watched or listened to forever is hip hop. I'm a real big hip hop fan. Love the early 2000s rappers. Eminem, Jay-Z, Outkast, your DMX's, Ja Rules, 50 Cent originally, G Unit.
Not Diddy.
I won't even go there. That was what I've liked, and I still listen to that stuff. There's some really good new hip hop that's out and about now that I really like. But yeah, hip hop is my go-to music. I had a phase when year 10, 11 and 12 where I was listening to a bit of punk and stuff, but like it was interesting. Like it was not like your Jake stuff where he was listening to Panic at the Disco and all that sort of like weird shit. Like it was like Blink 182 and that sort of stuff that I was really, really into. And I had that sort of stage. No Effects was really good when I was doing that when I was in year 12. So yeah, I had that stage, but my go-to is music. My favorite rapper is, I think for me is quite clearly Eminem. Has always been my favorite guy. And I don't have a favorite song, man. I really don't. Well, no, actually that's a pure blown lie. Something's just clicked. My favorite artist is Eminem. My favorite band is a band called 660. And my favorite song is a song called Special. And I made that be my favorite. I made that song be our wedding song. So it was the song that my wife walked down the aisle to. So that's my favorite band and song.
Mate, you saved yourself there. If the wife listens to this one, you just got yourself a nice big tick. So well done. Last one, favorite food.
Anything my wife cooks. Do I get another tick?
Mate, how good are you going?
Nah, listen. So I got two. I could eat a burger every single day of the week. So I'll happily eat a burger with a vanilla shake and a couple of fries, and I'm happy. And I do that every week. My wife makes the freaking best lasagna, like handmade, homemade, all the way through, and she sits it in the fridge for a couple of days, and so it like soaks in and ages. And everyone knows that pasta is better when it's aged. So, like you can make a spaghetti bolognese and it's good on the night, but 3 days later it's way better. So yeah, so my wife does that with a lasagna. And so that if my dying meal would be my wife's lasagna that she cooks right now.
Mate, this has been amazing. I really do appreciate how open and honest you have been in this interview. I think it would catch a lot of people by surprise and just shows you that we're all human as well in a way, and we've done our own thing. And again, just say everyone out there, please reach out if you do need to. More than happy to have a chat whenever you need to. And we'll do our best to always get to you promptly and the like, and catch up if that's what's required and the like. But thank you, Trav. It's been great getting to know you a lot more. I hope a lot of people can resonate with yourself now and have a bit more of that personalized experience, which is the real goal for this series. So thank you once again, and looking forward to what's to come for here, personal, everything.
Yeah, you dragged that out of me. I actually didn't come to this thinking we were going to go anywhere near that stuff. So I don't know. You've fully dragged that out of me.
I didn't think we're going there either.
It was good. Thank you.
That's all right, mate. Thank you, guys, and I hope you enjoyed the podcast.